The very concept of objective truth is fading out of the world. Lies will pass into history. George Orwell. Hello everyone, it's been a while. Very late night show. Some odd things afoot with my stream PC. So, novim.tv again. Oh well. I figured next week it will be a very busy time. I may not be able to do these live streams, but I will always try. I just want to keep this going for as long as I can. Not just for anyone else out there, but there's also my wife who does watch my stuff, which is great because I want her to watch it. Just as my kids, if they ever get to watch this stuff as they're growing up, I would love it if they watched what I had to say so they can understand me a little bit more. A lot of people don't quite understand me, even people who I would consider really great friends, even family. But really, only one who really understands yourself is you. And sometimes you have to let that out there for people to understand so they can understand you a lot better. Because how you react and how you are in the context of just your day-to-day life is different than who you truly are. Because in that world of that we live in, and especially in a society that you have to put up a little bit of a front to make sure things are smooth in your daily interactions with each other. Like for example, you're not just gonna go out and start saying 9/11 was a psyop, or you know, controlled whatever, right? You just say hello, how do you do, or good morning, good afternoon, good evening, small talk, all this other stuff. Really not much time to get to know an actual individual, at least not these days. All right, so aside from getting all my other stuff in order to figure out what's going on with my own stuff, here's what I want to talk about. Well, considering all the people who think they know me, whether they're family or they're friends, look, they're probably thinking, and look, I know what most people think. Is that a objective truth or subjective truth? We'll figure it out later. But I do. I kind of understand what's going inside people's heads, what their perceptions are, especially of me, because I've dealt with it. I've talked to people. When you basically understand that largely people react the same, think the same, feel the same. There are exceptions. That's why I don't say I know what everyone thinks. I know what most people think. And I think that's how the controllers, they understand that as well, and they use it to their advantage. Anyway, I know what most people think, and they're thinking, wow, Ebon has got really religious and political. And not true. Not true. Not true. I've always studied religion and politics, and I'm no more religious or political than I was when I was 19. I'm kind of reading off my notes, just so people know. Because I've been taking notes of what I'm thinking, of what I'm perceiving others of thinking, and therefore thinking back and giving a response. Yeah, it's weird. Okay, so when I was 19, I was kind of in that boat of searching for religion to believe in, and therefore I read a lot of various Bibles, the Quran, the Mahabharata, and a lot of other religious texts. And same as I am now, I do not believe. I did not pick a religion to believe in because I do not believe in any religion. Just that most recent, where's that poster? Because I'm a big X-Files fan, and I remember Jay Franken. Those who don't know, passed away recently. Who's known as Tech Move. We would talk about the latest X-Files season, especially one that was very very funny and interesting because it dove into a lot of conspiracy theories, more, and it was more of a satire piece of an X-Files conspiracy theory episode. Well, that poster that a lot of people see, you know, the one with the UFOs, I want to believe that was me, even recently. It's just because it's just easier to believe in something that everyone else believes in and to fit in. But I've never been that way. I've never believed something just to fit in. I've always had my stance on believing, not even believing, just trying to know. You know, I'm mostly the same as before. I'm just different. I still only know or think I know or I don't know. I don't believe in something regardless of those three factors. All right, so at any rate, I have more access to religion and politics than ever before due to the proliferation of the internet. I could not study real Satanism aside from joining Satanism, so someone like Mark Passio, who is an ex-Satanist, I consider a whistleblower on satanic concepts and practices. You know, I have a lot to thank for him, so I can actually understand more of the darker cult. I don't want to join the darker cult to understand the darker cult. Therefore, a lot of people think, wow, I'm studying all these religions. I'm really religious. No, I am studying. Because if I want to get to the truth, or whether it's objective or subjective to whoever it is that believes in the so-called religion that they are believing in, I want to understand it and I want to know it. And I can't do that unless I study it. And a lot of people out there, especially the ones calling me being religious, you can't understand unless you start understanding by studying. So therefore, that's all I am doing. I am no more religious or political than before. I could not study real politics aside from joining politics. So someone like Julian Assange and whistleblowers like Edward Snowden and Seth Rich, you know, they provided insights on the American government and its political arena, which should be transparent in the first place, so corruption becomes more difficult to manifest. So I am no more on a side. I've never been on a side. Again, it kind of goes down into the believing, because I don't believe to fit in. I don't pick a side to fit in. I am who I am. I do what I do, and I do it regardless of what other people think about me doing so. And I think that's what a lot more people should be doing. And I hope that when my kids grow up, Leela, Roland, especially you two, that you two are independent and you are not swayed by public opinion, what others think of you, or what your actions are being, what you dictate your actions based on what the reactions will be from other people. That you do your own actions because you know it to be right. Therefore, we move on to objective and subjective truth. And to get to the underlying truth, the objective truth, I mean, that doesn't mean that truth cannot be subjective. It's just not the base truth, meaning it can lead you down to the real underlying truth. The objective truth. So let me just start off with an example. Like today, as with many other days, I tell my wife that she always moves things, and I always make fun of that by telling my daughter that her mother is a mover and a shaker. I mean, it isn't the truth that she always moved things. Even if I believed it, that would be a subjective truth. It's not the objective truth. I just like saying that to her. So I asked my daughter, Leela, Mama moved it, right? And we were talking about, it's just something that I couldn't find. And she goes, yeah, Mama moved it. Because she's a mover and a shaker. So I told my wife, see, if I say it and Leela says it, then it's obviously true. And my wife, she surprised me and says, that's not what you say in your videos. And I'm like, touche. My wife actually watches my videos, and I think that's great. She says she watches it so she can understand what I'm thinking, and that's good, because look, it's hard to tell people what you're thinking at a specific moment, because you're thinking of a lot of things. I'm always thinking, and I'm always thinking a lot of different things. A lot of that thought sometimes doesn't matter. It's just processing. I'm processing my thoughts until my thoughts come to a conclusion where, hey, that's noteworthy to keep thinking on, to keep dwelling on, to maybe even share to others who might not have gotten to that point of thought. And maybe they have gotten to that point of thought, but they've never had someone to discuss that thought with. I would love it to discuss thoughts with others as well, but we're not at that point yet. I'm not obviously big enough to have other people come on to talk about it, or other people don't want to come on to talk about it with me anymore. That's okay. Look, that's what people are. That's what people do. And that's that. So, I mean, objective truth is what we're going for. That's a lot of what science is trying to do, is at least in the material world. They're trying to find out, hey, this is true to everyone, regardless if they think it's not true. Therefore, we've got a lot of theories out there, a lot of laws, not necessarily truth. Until it's more of this happens pretty much all the time until it doesn't. And when that time happens, then we'll create a new theory and a new law. But up to that point, it is universal. At least people on Earth, humans on Earth, however way you want to say it. So that's pretty much what the difference really between objective truth and subjective truth is, because I think it's true, and it really isn't true to everyone else. Doesn't mean it's really true for everyone. Okay. That's why when I start talking about the ayahuasca experience, and when other people talk about it, Graham Hancock especially, and a couple of others who've been at the forefront of it, the ayahuasca experience is universal. Unless someone's pretty much lying about it, or they want to cover up what they've seen themselves because they're ashamed or in some way. I don't think so. I think those who actually take ayahuasca and they don't have any preconceived notions about it, they're not ashamed of it. I mean, they want to actually take it so they can understand the things that are out there that we cannot experience in this physical material world that we think is currently. Excuse me, I'm still coughing. All of it's the same. It's the same experience for each individual, and that's something that needs to be studied more. I mean, it would be awesome, because I know right now there's a lot of people who don't know what ayahuasca is, what it does, what most people see in it, what they experience, not see it, what they experience. And that if they were told that they're undergoing an experiment and it's not harmful, I think they do need to be prepared for it, certain things, but they don't need to know what the experience outcome is. And when they come out of it, and just take observational notes, and hopefully these people speak the truth, because you can't really measure it in any other way right now. Maybe technology in the future, they can measure it, but are their experiences going to be mostly identical to everyone else's? For example, people who take weed, marijuana, right? Their experiences are going to be different. I mean, the underlying kind of how their body reacts to it is the same, but their experiences while they're on it, or the thought process within it, their controllability, it's still under their control. It's different and it's going to be different for different people. But ayahuasca, certain drugs, certain hallucinogenics. It's that. Why is it that the experience is the same for everyone? And that's something that should really be tested. Hi, Ryan. And so I think there's just a thing that needs to be studied, and we've gotten to the point where we don't want to study anymore because we already have preconceived notions of what is being studied. Haven't seen you in a while, Ryan. How have you been?
What's up? Yeah, just been doing stuff. You know, weather's getting nicer here, so you know, things to do, people to see, mental health seminars to go visit. You know, all that type of stuff.
Oh, you went to that show and I missed it. And did you get to ask your question? Did they talk about it at all? The one that was in the
No, they didn't.
Oh, that sucks.
No. So, but yeah, it's they sat me behind a camera, and so I couldn't, and they sat me too far away, so I really didn't get to really see anything or hear anything. So yeah, it was pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What question did they pick? Was it just some pretty? Was it a good question that they ended up picking?
Nah, they were just shitty questions.
Yeah.
One was about Brett Kavanaugh. One was about sexual assault. One was about a woman who was studying at a local university, and three men broke into her room at the dormitory, and because she's a vegan, they threw meat at her, and she complained to the university, and nothing happened. So, yeah, that's the way it is. So, weird. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty disappointing. So, yeah, that's life. So I went up to one of the managers and said, "Hey, look, you know, I sent you an email regarding I need to see the panelists and I need to sit close enough to hear them and all that type of stuff." And you sat me over there behind a camera and too far away to be able to read lips and stuff like that. And they're like, "Oh, okay, well, send us an email and we'll get you back." And it's like, okay, fair enough. But I haven't emailed them, so.
Is it nighttime over there? Because I think that's the first time I've ever seen it dark outside your window.
Yeah, it's daylight savings now.
Okay. So, oh wait, is it daylight? When's daylight savings in the U.S.? I haven't paid attention.
So, yeah, it's nearly 8 p.m.
Okay.
So it's and happy birthday for the other day, by the way.
That was a long time ago. Thanks for that late birthday wishes. Gosh,
kind of better late than ever, brother.
Yeah, just kidding. I don't really care about holidays or birthdays, so
it's my birthday. It's my birthday this weekend. So.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, I turned 40.
Wow, we both hit that big 4-0, huh?
Yeah, man. Did you just turn 40?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was my big 4-0, and I make nothing of it. That's the weird thing is, like, I've never really cared that much about, like, special dates and stuff like that. But the thing is, now that I have family and people who do care about it, I just kind of go along with it. And
that's pretty weird. We were born, what, a week apart?
Yep.
Wow. And then Stevie and I share the same birthday.
Okay, wow.
So we're both on... our birthdays are both on the weekend, so yeah. That's all good.
Pardon me. Oh, I need to stop coughing. The reason I don't like coughing, my body's always been like this. Going through sickness, I have this lingering cough for weeks, And I saw a video, a YouTube video. I forget the video name. High Impact Vlogs. So it did one, and it was just Hillary Clinton coughing over and over for
Oh
days.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like, oh man, I
yeah.
don't. I
The
don't
time that
have.
she was on the plectrum, and she coughed and she spat into the
Oh, I don't
glass.
even want to remember that one. Oh
Oh, did you see Haley resigned?
no, I did not.
Yeah, she resigned. She's no longer the UN ambassador for the United States. She quit. They reckon she's going to run in 2020.
Hmm. That does seem like an option. I mean, I don't see why she would resign now. Wouldn't she want to resign like a few months
Yeah,
before 2019 so she could focus on her
I mean,
campaign? And because what are people going to say? So what did you do last year or two? Well,
she could go out and start rallying.
but does she
Start.
does she have that name recognition? I don't really think so.
I don't know, but I mean, if she's giving us if she's going to run and she's giving herself enough time to build that name recognition,
Yeah.
you know.
I think
So
I think she might be a VP for Hillary Clinton. Because
nah,
Hillary Clinton's running 2020 and she's gonna win.
nah,
As much as
nah,
people don't like it, maybe that's
nah.
maybe that's the objective truth.
I don't deny Hillary Clinton's going not is she is going to run, but Nikki Haley is
She'll
a
probably be
really
the
big follower
VP
of the
pick
right.
for Hillary.
Yeah, or she'll be a VP pick for someone on the right, not so much someone on the left.
Yeah.
So she very much loves Trump. So
Who
she
knows? There could be some weird stuff afoot going on in the political world. It's like,
and you know what Trump said?
what?
He goes, he reckons he's the best pick to replace Nikki Haley would be his daughter.
Ivanka?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Look,
I
Trump
mean,
will just. I still hear. My opinion is the powers that be don't want him in power. They always just had him as a useful fool.
yep,
And now he realizes, look, despite all your powers of control, I became president. And I
yep,
have power, and I'm going to do what I want with it, and not what you want me to do with it. Although there are some concessions, there are some things that I think are very much the same. Like all the defense spending is still huge. The support for Israel is still huge. There's still
yeah,
the lot of military activity in the Middle East that's not
yeah,
pulled back. There's people who are in the administration that aren't good, like Ajit Pai, who repealed net neutrality. You know,
Jeff Sessions.
he actually passed legislation or removed the legislation that that uh, that ends up adding more gun control, which
Yeah.
is like, come on, people on the right, you guys really support all
I
that
got,
stuff?
I got a question for you, and I've been trying to find it on the interwebs. Um, do you know what the American government, the US government, would have to do to change the lifetime appointment of Supreme Court justices? Like, what would be the process? Would it be a vote, or would it be just a vote in Congress? Or because I can't find it.
I don't know exactly. I think they had, because it's not specifically written, so it would just be probably legislation where they vote for it, and then the president passes, and then the Supreme Court justices might have to actually vote on it if
Okay.
it's a constitutional amendment. But I don't think it's ever been a part of the Constitution as far as the length of Supreme Court rulings. But then it's kind of a paradox, because you don't want the Supreme Court ruling on what happens to members of the Supreme Court. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like Massachusetts. They're legislative. They were able to vote on their own pay raises. That should be not in the hands
Yeah.
of people in legislation to vote. I mean, how many people can vote for their own pay raise?
Yeah.
So I think that whatever it is, it may have to bypass the Supreme Court. Um, Otherwise, which Supreme Court justice is going to say, no, I want to limit my own powers, so I can only be in the Supreme Court for 8 years, 16 years. But by the time most people get into the Supreme Court anyways, they're mostly in their 50s, 60s. So
Yeah, but this day and age, people are living into their 80s and 90s. You know what I mean? So,
and
like they were saying, Brett Kavanaugh, if he looks after himself, could be on there for 40 years.
And then there comes a time. I mean, you can always resign.
Yeah.
But there's also never been a point that I remember, maybe there has been, where someone who's in the Supreme Court justice might not have their faculties in order due to old age. And so how does that factor in?
Yeah.
I mean,
if they start getting Alzheimer's disease or dementia.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that scares me the most is that, you know, when it comes to the Supreme Court, is that these people will only quit when they want. You know, it's not as if they quit with the interest of the people.
Yeah.
They only quit when it's in their own interests.
Or they can't be forced to quit based on their inability to do their job function. I mean, for anywhere else, I mean, even the president can be called on to be expelled from office.
Amendment 25, is it, or 23 or 25?
Yeah. So yeah, it is an interesting thing to get into.
Yeah. What you were saying about looking things up on the internet and stuff, and educating yourself on religion and stuff like that, I think that is, I agree with you, 99.9%, which is surprising because I never agree with you that much. But the internet is a dual-edged blade. On one side, you can find all the information you want, you know, find information that you've never heard of. But do we really sort of have the time nowadays to actually sit back and think about that information? Like truly sit down and think like they used to in the old days? You know,
well, we're doing it now, aren't we?
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like spend hours just pondering.
We're doing it now, right? I do. You and me can talk about it, and that's part of thinking.
But no, but like, I mean, you would go to the library, read a book, go, okay, you know, theology 101 says this, and this, and then you go back home, and because you didn't have the internet back then, you actually sat there and pondered and thought of scenarios and different ways of thinking about it. I'm just wondering if the internet is sort of getting rid of that pondering free thought.
I think so.
Replacing it with like preconceived information
and commentators, because a lot of people just kind of, okay, someone else thought about it and they're talking about it, and so rather than me going out there and doing the same thing, I'm actually going to go out there and get my information from this person. And therefore, yeah, I do see that becoming a problem. I think what it should be is our commentators that do it and tell people kind of a summary, but that there's more to it, that people should go and read the source material themselves, then think about it and come up with a different idea of what it might mean. Because there's a lot of this stuff, especially with the esoteric stuff. I mean, because it's just not. It's basically esotericism is just knowledge that's hidden. That's so it's hard to get revealed, and just to process that, because I mean, it's just like getting a new information from a discovery from like an archaeological site, right? Or something new from a dinosaur dig, and it's like, hey, this is new. This kind of makes things different than all the things that we thought before about dinosaurs. So just a new material, how to process it in a certain way, how it just kind of, if this knowledge has been around for for time memorial, and now it's just being kind of released to the public in certain ways. It's like, why and what have. Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, it's like, why and what's the purpose of releasing it? Why was it released? Was it on purpose? Was it by accident? It's just like when government releases information that they've
Yeah.
been doing. It's like, okay, why'd you guys release it now? Why even release it at all? And what have you guys been doing with this stuff that's been hidden? What are the results? And they just go, no, we just did this, and for national security, we're not going to reveal any more information. But we just thought you guys should know that we did this.
Yeah, I mean that's the same. What they do here is the government will strategically release information when it suits them, so they can sit on reports and stuff like that. And it came out yesterday that there was a report on climate change, and it wasn't favorable. We weren't meeting our targets by a long way, long way, billions of tons of carbon, and they sat on it for over 2 months, and then they decided to release the report on grand final eve, which is a Friday, at 4 p.m. So in metropolitan Melbourne, it was a public holiday. The rest of the country at 4 p.m. got this release, and it was just like, it wasn't like a massive release like, hey, have a look at this report. It was just put on a website, and that was it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, the government, it's becoming really, really clear that the government is censoring the information and trickling it out when it's appropriate to them.
Yeah. And yeah, so it's, yeah. I think it would be great for a lot more people to just kind of study on their own and think their own way, because I think a lot of people, their upbringing, their career, where that they've mostly focused their attention and their thought processes on, it is basically kind of molded in a certain way. I mean, obviously, when we talk about a subject, your thought processes are going to be a lot different than mine, based on a lot of your history and the way that you come about thinking in certain things, as opposed to someone else who might be more artistic or religious, or coming from the side of either practicality or through science. Just like Snork, he adds a good bit of his background with a big scientific basis, and you've got a lot of theological basis from other people. So it's great to have all these different thoughts, the ways of thinking, just kind of thinking about one subject or one particular topic, and that was the hope of this whole on topic, show. So it's something that I would love more people to do, but it's gotten to the point where I like this person and like the way he talks and says things, and when he says something, it's like, yeah, I can see it from that way, and I'll take that position, because we kind of have the same ideas or ideals or thoughts. So my thoughts are just based off of what this person says, and there's no differentiation. There's no very like small variations of it. So it's gotten to like I don't. For example, Tim Black, because like I'm I'm like we talk about why I'm doing it. He talks about why he does what he does. I talk about why I do what I do. And it's just like James, he talks about why he does what he does.
Yeah.
And so Tim Black is like all I want are for black people uh, to stop voting for Democrats until they get something out of it.
Yep.
And my thought is, well, how do you know whoever you're voting for is going to give that to the black people? Right? You don't get anything out of it until you vote. And then once you do vote, they're not going to give you anything back. And it's been done for however many decades. And so
Yeah.
how do you expect that to change? And
It's good. I mean,
oh, you're muted. You're muted. Or
I am.
no, man. No, sorry. I can hear. Sometimes my headset isn't connected, so I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
Yeah, sometimes you can't, like, I don't trust politicians as far as you can throw them, and I don't believe that you should have. The only thing that Tim Black can really rely on is a promise.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have anything happen until the person's voted in, but they need to make that promise in order to get your vote. So, I mean, if it was someone like a what do you call them, a Justice Democrat or someone like that who is going for that role, for that position, how do you not vote for them because you don't know if they're going to give black people something? So you have to. I'm not really putting it really articulately. It's sort of like it's really hard. When sorry, I took my medication about 2 hours ago, so it's starting to kick in. I can't understand how you can sort of sit there and say don't vote Democrat because they're not giving us anything. Well, you wouldn't know. Like you said, you wouldn't know. They wouldn't give you anything until they got into office, and then what? If they don't give you anything, what, you vote them out and you go through that whole process again?
Yeah. And if you don't vote for them, you're not gonna get anything from the other side anyway.
Black people get nothing from the right.
Yeah.
So I mean, minorities get nothing from the right. It's all about white people for the right. That's how I see the right. I mean, you've got your token black people in there, like Ben Carson and stuff like that, but come on. I mean, the dude's a brain surgeon, but he's dumb as a post. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's as bad as charismatic as a turd coming out an asshole.
Was he the one that said 999? Is that
Ben
Carson? Or no, there's a different person. Ben Carson's the. This is as excited as I get. Yeehaw.
Yes, Yeah, and he lied. He lied about, was it helping people out of a fire or something like that?
I don't know. Who am I thinking of that said 999? He's like Papa John's founder or something. Maybe that was in 2012.
I'm pretty sure that that's Ben Carson.
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Ben Carson.
It's no.
Yeah.
No. It was. It was this guy. If you look on the share.
Hang on.
This was in 2012. You'll see it on YouTube or wherever. DLive, Facebook. I can't remember his name though.
Where are we?
I'm trying to look now. Isn't there a wiki? Wikis usually have that, don't they?
Yeah.
712. Gosh, can't remember. I'm looking. Come on. I think he dropped out early.
Yeah.
Herman Cain. Herman Cain. That was
Herman Cain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I gotcha.
Oops.
They had Ben Carson was bullshitting about some of the things that he did when he was younger. So it's just talking shit.
Well, a lot of people do that. A lot of people embellish.
Joseph Stalin said, "If you want to bring America down, you have to undermine three things: our spiritual life, our patriotism, and our morality." Okay, fair enough. I doubt Joseph Stalin said that, but anyway.
Yeah, and a lot again with that thought, with all the information of the internet that's provided, you also have to think of the information that's given to you and how to analyze it quicker to ensure if that information even has merit to even think upon, right? Because like a lot of people say, hey, anyone could say anything on the internet, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And a lot of the things is, I'm even looking through certain quotes because I do the quote thing at the beginning of most of the on topic stuff. And some of those quotes aren't really attributed to the correct person. A lot of the times and it's not even the full exact quote, because sometimes it's a passage in a book or in a diary or in some letter, and it's like a paragraph long, and it's like, well, I'm not gonna just quote a whole paragraph of this where it's not contextual, and then they'll kind of reword it in a certain way so it can fit into a nice sentence or two so it sounds nice, and then they attribute the quote to that person. So there's a lot even in there, and a lot of the sites where I look at is I try to find the source, the actual source, and if they reference it at all, and therefore I'm able to access that referenced source, and then I take that information in more high regard than all the other information. Especially when you look at mainstream media, you know what they source? Their source goes to another mainstream media source, and that source goes to like a link of their own, from a week ago. And so you're like, how can we even actually find a correct source? It's like all they have to do is, like, if they're talking about legislation, link to the legislation in congress.gov. And they don't do that. You actually have to go and search for the congress.gov legislation and read it straight word for word, and then you look at the mainstream media sources, like, this isn't exactly what they say, and then when you actually look at it, you go, hey, why is this mainstream media source just kind of not mentioning certain things that pass within the bill? Like, they'll have like the one that I read yesterday is like 717 billion or something in defense spending, not one word of Israel. It's like a lot of people, just especially on the right, are just really not into the except for maybe the certain religious people on the right, but otherwise they don't want anything to do with Israel. And
no, of course not. I mean, there are a lot of countries out there that don't want anything to do with Israel. I mean,
and a lot of people on the right don't want anything to do with Saudi Arabia either. And US is big on Saudi Arabia.
I mean, there was a tweet that came out, would have been about a week ago, regarding why is there a UN Human Rights Commission when when nearly half the people on the commission and the people who are in charge of it all have the death penalty and who are invading other countries. And then there was another tweet about how America has killed over 20 million people in 37 different countries.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
a lot of people in the United States, they still don't see U.S. as being the terrorists themselves. It's like, no, we fight terrorism. We
yeah,
are the terrorists. We've become terrorists. We've become an empire of terrorists. Like anyone who sees U.S. or U.S. troop, they're like, in another nation, they're like, oh crap, we better run. And who are the military personnel in the U.S. fighting people? They're fighting people who are living in these villages in the middle of nowhere. Like
yep,
how is that promoting freedom and democracy around the world? They just want to
exactly,
live their lives in that little remote village. It's like,
exactly.
that person in that remote village isn't going to do anything to us over here. And if you think so, you're probably a retard. Sorry, I mean retards
Yeah,
are smart.
yeah. I mean, it just does my head in how it's really the American government thinks the only way to control the world is to threaten to invade and be completely overthrown by military.
Yeah.
When they're the richest country in the world has ever seen, why not bribe these countries into submission?
Yeah.
Why not be the people who, instead of having the thumb on the uh, the scale of each of these countries, why not just help lift these countries and get them in by giving them money?
Yeah.
I
Look,
mean, either or, you're probably better off giving them money because you're spending all that money to defeat them in the military sense, which is going to be, generations of hatred towards the Americans.
Yeah, like I mean, pretty much every year we spend we're getting close to $1 trillion a year in defense spending for the United States government. Now imagine instead of spending that on defense and military, we just give that to countries. All the countries would love us. It's like, dude, this country's giving us free stuff. They don't attack us or bomb us. It's like they'd be like, I love America. Nowadays they're like, oh, America's scary. They just like to attack people and
Yeah, it's like America's given us all this money for better policing, better hospitals, better roads,
for food, so they don't have to
for
grow
food,
hungry, agriculture, whatever.
agriculture, yeah, everything. But instead, it's like let's just bomb the shit out of them. Let's spend that same money and bomb the shit out of them. I mean, you could go in, you could send to like if a country, you could offer a country the troops to go in there and help out, not to start a war. It's like we're going to send in the national engineers, like the army engineers. We're going to figure out how to build roads and infrastructure and all that type of bridges and all that type of stuff. We're going to teach you how to do this stuff. Mm-hmm. But instead, they rather like there's no money in it for Boeing and Lockheed Martin and all that type of stuff to help.
I forget the name of it. I know, like one of my exes, they were in it, and a couple of other people. It's like the non-military service. I think John F. Kennedy, JFK, started it. So basically, you go in and you do a service for your government, which you go and you help out. It's not military. It's something else. So yeah, you kind of do the same thing. You help countries that are third world countries to,
like a civil enlistment, and it's like what the doctors do. The French sent Frontier or something like that, and they go and be doctors in other countries.
Yeah, is it civil service, civil something? I can't remember, but yeah, whoever's watching this, maybe you'll comment on it or something and let us know. We don't have the best memories over here.
No, no,
Especially
I
for me,
don't.
it's 4:22 a.m. I do need to get some rest.
Yeah, I'm going.
Okay.
So yeah, I got to go. My medication's kicking. You probably can hear that I'm really nasally at the moment. So
No, that's just you normal.
oh, thanks.
I was just kidding. All right.
All right, man.
I'll talk to you later.
Keep up. All right. See ya.
See
Bye.
ya. See everybody else. Have a good night.